Session 33. They head back through the tunnels, and Guin asks if they want to go down the other tunnels. Aloktu agrees, and they head down, stealthing along the way. The tunnel branches off again, smelling of moss and fungus like a typical cave. Guin catches on to the smell of bugs being cooked and is convinced it's kobolds. The tunnel is fairly tight, Korrah, Aeron, and Felix having to duck down a lot. They see some stone dwellings, hollowed out sections of the cave, so there's room for smoke escape. There are some kobolds, Dwygar, and gemstone dragonborns in the area, mostly sapphire and some topaz. Felix asks Ander if they're trying to tussle, and Ander says he wants to leave. They observe them for a moment, noting there are some refugees from the surface.
If only we had known.
Surface, humans, and some Vidalcan. They go to one of the places that seem like a store. It seems like an armory, things built from insects and organic material. Guin attempts to speak Draconic, but the shopkeeper is more fluent than her. She checks out some of the armor pieces. Korrah notices the cave walls seem more slick and feels it with her glove, and it reacts like water. Guin ends up buying the armor piece. As they reascend, they notice the cave is a lot shinier than when they first came down, making the ground fairly difficult to walk on. The electricity from the armor ends up shocking them lightly when they get into the water. They hear some thunder above as they climb out of the well via Ander's rope. Outside, it is stormy and snowing, fairly hard, wet snow. It's around mid-afternoon, most likely, but it's dark and cloudy with lightning flashes. Korrah and Aeron ride on his mare, and Felix and Ander on Raiden. Ander notes the sapphires he picked up don't seem completely normal, with light moving inside them. They notice a tide has come in as they get closer to the university, and the lightning strikes seem to be focused on the shield. Some of the clouds seem to change shape, forming into wings as the tempest materializes. They are about 70 feet away from the dome. Felix jumps off Raiden and starts running towards the dome, screaming for help as his wild magic starts going off. Wind goes in their direction as it screams. They all take some damage. Aeron is flung into the water as the horse disappears from underneath them. Ander calls upon the dragon, begging for his help. The enchantment appears with eyes opened and wings outstretched, levitating 30 feet above the ground, larger than the tempest. All 5 of them are thrown about in time. Korrah is in the city, accompanied by a young man, who she recalls as Bro. They are shaking someone down, someone with more power than he perhaps should have. Aeron sees dragons soaring all over the place before he sees a ruby gemstone dragon and realizes this is the Dragonlands. Ander sees Istaro rebuilding, where life is going on and starting again, hopefully more fairly. Gwen sees her father and her family having a family home, working on a contraption for sailor safety. A woman is working with him, and Gwen realizes she looks just like her. Felix has both arms and is traveling south.
Something that I forgot to mention, he's also brown.
Oh yeah, true. Back in the present, Vil attacks, claws, teeth, and tail. Ander stands in awe. Korrah observes the tempest. It is both destruction and rebirth. Gwen uses her spells to get over to Aeron and bring him back to shore, the mage still unconscious. Felix's wild magic goes off and casts Fly on Gwen. Investigating the barrier, he sees no one besides themselves around. Vil's teeth and claws surge with a field of energy, the same as what's flowing through his wings. The tempest moves back from Vil and is dazzled by his awe. It then strikes more lightning at the shield in an attempt to take it down. Korrah quickly heals Aeron, muttering, "Don't die on me, Ro," as she does. Gwen flies up into the air, attempting to blast it with Eldritch Blast, but misses. Felix wild magic casts Fly on himself, and he flies closer to the tempest and hits it with light. Vil continues to attack the tempest, which dives down and arcs back towards Vil's stomach. The barrier continues to grow weaker as the tempest strikes it. They notice the water level beginning to rise. Ander hands Korrah the iron flask, uncertain about whether to summon the School Lord or not. Korrah doesn't think it will help and goes and heals Felix, who is down. After taking some hefty damage and healing up, the party watches as Vil finally strikes down the tempest. The shield around Riga drops, with the storm around them still raging, but beginning to calm somewhat. Felix's wild magic keeps bursting off, and he becomes blinded, confused, and then a plant. They drag the plant off the road, and Bill moves the party further with manifestation. Gwyn asks if Bill can take the Leviathan on by himself, but he does not know, but says they will die if they stay to help. They get into the university in the courtyard. Ahead is the main building and 3 dormitories. Aeron says they should check where the teleportation circles are. The school is in the process of flooding as they begin to wade through the water. No one is at the circles. Aeron gives Andrew directions on some important names of those who might be able to help. Grimond Stierborn? How do you say that again?
Stierbjorn.
Stierbjorn?
Yeah.
I can't know my R, so.
Bjorn.
And Drosa. He runs down the staff hall, yelling their names. When he reaches the 3rd floor, he finds Drosa, a tall, broad blonde woman, and an orc with slightly burnt robes. They're all soaked. Ander asks if any of them know teleport, but Drosa says the dragon can help, and silences Ander when he starts yelling. Stjorbjorn heads down the stairs, ignoring Drosa's request to come back and insisting they need to leave. Aeron says Bill wasn't even sure if he could beat the Leviathan, which is partially submerged to the water. Aeron convinces Stjorbjorn that they know someone who can help with the Leviathan. Back at the teleportation room, Stjorbjorn starts carving the circle under the water and then shoves Aeron down to do his half. They all cluster in a circle and Stjorbjorn teleports them, and they re-emerge in the Minaret of Oblivion, soaked, cold, and worse for wear. Aeron tells the party he'll go tell Shaphat that they're there and not to say anything offensive to him. Aeron notes that the tower seems bigger than it was before. He sees some ghouls, who then disperse after a moment, and then a tap of feet as Shaphat Hodesh approaches Aeron. Aeron hands over the scroll, Shaphat holding it with one hand and then tucking it under his arm, surprised they arrived so quickly. Aeron informs him of the events at Riga and asks if his party can come meet him, to which Shaphat agrees. They all appear at the ground level where Shaphat is. Shaphat tells Ander he's glad he survived. Felix goes and sits on the ground, and Shaphat teleports him to a chair. Korrah bows her head to Shaphat and says, "It is nice to put a face to a name." Shaphat says the same, and they all introduce themselves to him. He asks if they've learned anything about the elementals, and Gwyn says she thinks Bill killed it. He asks about the dragon's name, and Gwyn gives it to him. Aeron mentions Bill was at the Ascension, which Shaphat remarks as unusual. Shaphat says the university will fall, and the teleportation circles will cease. Gwyn asks if Bill is still alive, and he responds, "For now," and the Leviathan was vanquished. Shaphat asks what he says, and Gwyn passes it along, saying he sounded weak. Shaphat says they have a week, maybe 2, to get rid of the other elementals, as they will be born again quickly. He does not know who controls the elementals, but knows someone is directing it. Aeron insists they could be of a lot more use if they knew who the new player was, but Shaphat says they do not know how impactful they would be, so it doesn't matter. Korrah asks if they have met before, but Shaphat says they haven't. Even though his name was familiar to her, he did not think his name was still known for their generation. Aeron says Shaphat's last name is the same as the Dawn Titan,
Corralon.
Korrah Hodesh. Which was it was common to take on the names of the Dawn Titans, like Jesus, basically. Shaphat was once, and perhaps still, an Aura. Aeron questions about those who died from the Ascension, and Shaphat says they were imbued with celestial energy of sorts, and that perhaps it seeped in faster than they thought. Or if Bill is mistaken. Shaphat says it seems unlikely, but there have been many implausible things happening as of late. He snaps, and a mahogany table appears before them with much food. Aeron makes Felix, who immediately begins to eat without another word. Much of the power a dead new god would be vestigial, as it wouldn't have had time to set in before they went off to kill Cord. They begin to eat as well as Shaphat. Ander asks if Shaphat can taste the food, and he says sometimes, and he eats for enjoyment, and that's where we ended.
What time of day is it?
I think it would be mid-afternoon.
Oh, okay. so we're not like ready to pass out.
I mean, you are. Just from a different type of tired. So, now that we have eaten, shall we begin? Felix just continues to eat.
Aeron just like looks over at Korrah.
Mouthful.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Begin what exactly? She like glances back at Aeron like, were we supposed to like know something?
He like looks back at Shaphat and he's like, I assume he's saying that he's ready to open the table up for discussion.
About what?
Roll an insight check. I don't know.
Hey, 19.
That indeed seems to be what he was saying.
Okay. He'll like look back at Guin and Korrah, and he says, Shaphat has a lot of experience and knowledge, so if there's anything that you guys need or want to know, like, he's one of the best resources.
And how free exactly is that knowledge?
For now, you have done me a great service.
Gwyn's just kind of side-eyeing him. She doesn't believe anything from him is free. She's just like, She's just gonna eat food and watch the others and see if what they ask first and what his responses are like, and then she may ask him something.
You mentioned that you were once an Ara, correct?
Indeed.
Do you know if much of Ara culture has changed over the course of your lifetime?
I cannot speak to the Aramaeans or Arisians. The Assyriac become hard to maintain continuous contact with over the last 1700 years. But before then, change is difficult for people who refuse to die. Does not come so naturally as it does for the Dwergar and the humans and the Orcs.
And what sort of Ara culture did you grow up in, if you do not mind me asking?
And has that same kind of energy just fades from his being, limited as that being is, and just kind of reinflates, like, yeah, basically like an inflatable. It's a strange thing to see happen multiple times, just based on what he's thinking about, for it to be so dramatic. And That was a very long time ago. I grew up in the southern Ebenwald forest. Not called that at the time, but it does not matter. That is what it is known as now. It was 4? Yes, it was before the Sundering. Things were easier, more vibrant.
Easier?
Of course, once the far realm chooses to plant its seed, nothing is ever the same.
How is Korrah like reacting to this? Is she having any outward reaction or?
I think she's mostly just like taking it. Sorry, I'm like writing notes right now.
That's okay.
I think she just looks like intrigued. I wouldn't say she's like, oh my god, like she's not like shocked or anything.
Does I mean, this is probably going to require an insight check, but does she like might sense some sort of like familiarity from what he's saying?
That is a question for Ian, I guess.
Not really.
So you were once a normal Ara then? You had a family?
So to speak. I was born, yes. I did not apparate out of nothing.
From the way Aeron speaks of you, sometimes it seems like that is the case.
Well, I must admit that sometimes it is a useful persona to portray. The truth, it is not.
The Great Dragon mentioned that you were at the Sundering.
I was.
Did you have much influence on it? Did you partake?
No. No one had influence over the Sundering. The Dawn Titans could barely hold off the assault. The Tritons, if anything, had the most say in what happened. They held off the Aboleth and the Chul from the sea. Aside from that, it was the Alrisen that did the greatest work.
Would Gwyn know the name Alrisen? Is that like something that she would recognize?
Make a religion check and subtract 1.
Subtract 1?
Yeah.
Let's see here. That's a 15.
15. You've heard of it, and you're not super sure what that encompasses, or is let's see.
She'll speak up then. What exactly is the Alrisen?
The Alrisen were mechanisms. Perhaps is the best word. Created by the Dawn Titans protect the lesser species of air, such as we are now the elder race and the progenitor. And we were the fledgling. But the archive that I sent you at first, that was one. The Ashen Wolf, another. The Wild Huntsman, a third. There were more. Many of them are not quite so consequential.
Aeron, like, glances at Gwyn. He's like... He kind of, like, is looking at her like he's expecting her to, like, do something.
I'm trying to figure out what she would do because I don't want to metagame it. Like, I know what it is, but she's watching him, like she's taking in the information that he's giving her. What happened to these creations after the Sundering? Are they still around? Did they just disappear?
They all survive, as far as I'm aware. Alive is a strange term for things such as them. They are all corrupted. None of them serve the purpose for which they were created.
Corrupted?
Yes. The archive was not always the death trap that it is now.
What did it used to be?
It was... I guess it was always a weapon, but it was primarily where we would store information on how to kill aberrations, what their weaknesses were, what their strengths were, tactics that worked best against them. But now it spreads destruction every which way. All knowledge from it is spread with the intent to desecrate yet further.
What other sorts of corruption have the Alrisen undergone?
And Shaphat kind of looks at you, his head cocked a little bit. And the Wild Huntsman was once a warrior unmatched. Or perhaps more of an automaton. Put it mechanically. Not a real living thing as you and I are. Or at least not of the same type.
Aeron, like, starts to, like, chuckle, and then he, like, covers his mouth. He's like, I didn't do that.
And Shaphat's head just lifts a little bit and just moves slightly to the right. Make an insight check.
Oh man, I rolled really bad. Damn. 8.
Yeah, is not quite sure what that was, if he was humored or not. But regardless, he keeps on. Now it is. Now the winter takes its name for it. That is when it is strongest, and that is when it kills most. Still seeks with a challenge, perhaps, but it hunts for trophy.
I know you said the others were not important or inconsequential, but I'm curious what they are. Do you know all of them?
I believe so. There's always a possibility that something was kept from me at the time and has never come to light since. It's actually a rather distinct possibility. Time, I was but a foot soldier. But the ones that I am aware of, the Ashen Wolf, the Forbidden Graveyard, the Blackthorne Grove.
She just like stares at him.
And he obviously doesn't make eye contact because his sockets are empty, but the sockets are facing towards you. And his skull declines a little bit. And the Keeper of the Depth.
Can I roll an insight check to see Gwyn's reaction, or is it pretty open?
Well, she was asking him a question and she was being pretty open about it, and when he said the Blackthorne Grove, her mouth just kind of open. She's just staring at him, kind of looking around wait. Did he actually just say that?
And Shaphat doesn't say anything, but he does lean in, keeping his direction towards you.
Sets her fork down and is just sitting there, and she's like that meme with the lady that has all the equations floating in the background. She's like, what?
Are you alright, Guinevere?
You can see her just she's trying to process that, and she's flickering through emotions, she doesn't know what to think. She's like, I'm fine. Just give me a second. She's just kind of just gonna sit there.
Aeron looks back at Shaphat and maybe you should tell them how you got your powers, just like how you told me.
And he reclines again. I am a well-studied teenager. In the early days, I was much like your friend here, and faces again towards Gwyn. I sought power from things greater than myself. And then I decided to develop myself independently. And now I'm a much greater force than even that patron.
Who was your patron?
Was a dark thing from the Shadowfell.
Does it still exist?
Not in a meaningful sense.
Is the Shadowfell common world knowledge? Like, would we know what that is?
Not really. Aeron might, but that's mostly due to his previous experience with the Farquin. There we go, Farquin.
How did you surpass it? Did you just... Was its power given to you freely, or...
No,
did you
I
pay it?
became one of the more powerful wizards to exist. And my power, through my own application, overcame it.
And by the time you obtained your power, did you have it before the ascension?
No. And at this point, he's just surveying all of you. And Felix is eating, but kind of slower and doing the same thing, just kind of looking at everybody.
Aeron looks like he's like waiting for like something. I guess I can't really say what, but he's waiting.
Waiting. Is
Everyone,
he,
roll initiative.
Ah! Is he looking at anyone in particular, or just kind of like surveying the group?
I mean, he's waiting for like to see if Gwen like wants to continue this conversation, to see if like Korrah has more to say.
She looks awkward. I don't know what the others are doing.
Gotta wait for Aeron to finish the notes.
I'm like,
Continue.
at the time of the ascension, were you around?
I was alive, yes.
But did you have any impact on it?
Mildly. I was an assistant to Azuth, but a rather unimportant one at the time.
You were an assistant to Azuth?
And he looks over slowly. At this point, his skull is resting on his bony fingers, and he pivots over to you. But of course.
Aeron, well, he looks impressed, like he's not hiding it at all. Is that part of why you said your name was more well received in the past than it is now?
No, Shaphat was just a more popular name at the time.
And what about Villain Trenton Myth saying that you were an engineer?
Personally, I feel like that overestimates my impact on the entire operation, but I had my contributions there.
Right! Is he telling the truth? I'm gonna insight the skeleton so many times and fail so many times, and I will never learn.
I feel like you.
What's your number?
Nice.
I got a 15.
All right, let me. I gotta pull out Shaphat's character sheet. Gotta find it because I'm pretty sure you pretty badly beat his roll.
Oh.
13. Okay. You got a 15?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he's holding back on this. Like, that he might have been more important than he's letting on.
Mm-hmm. Aeron kind of like straightens up a little bit and he like puts his hand on his chin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what exactly you contributed? And we could make that judgment for ourselves.
Tell me, Aeron. You have any theories on apotheosis?
Do any of us know what that word means?
Yeah.
Rising to become a god.
Okay. Honestly, I don't really have all that much knowledge on the subject.
How would explaining what I did be of any use to you when you don't understand the subject to begin with?
It could help to understand.
I was a researcher. We had theories. Part of what I did was test to see if they might work.
Theories on what?
The most effective ways to become gods.
Did you ever find a solution?
No.
Insight. This man telling the truth.
13.
I got a 17.
A baller have a +0.
Yeah. Seems to be telling the truth. That
Okay.
if someone figured it out, it wasn't him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the type of thing that whoever figured it out took it to Bane and Azuth and maybe Erekura.
Did you discover any key pieces?
I discovered that metapoiesis would take too long for the Cabal's desire. That was my greatest contribution to the endeavor.
Did you know all 12?
That was my question, actually.
Oh!
Not personally, no. Not entirely sure. Actually, wait. And
Wait.
he falls back into that glazed over, jaw slackened, and he just kind of is diving through his skull.
You guys broke him.
And eventually he comes back. No, I did not. I knew 7.
Which of the 7 did you know?
Aeron, Azuth, Bane, Avandra, Pelor, Mithras, and Alrisen, the Builder.
Have you ever seen the ones that you did not know?
Yes, but I did not. Well, I strongly suspect champions of that caliber have a presence that is difficult to deny. However, I was never told of how many were involved in the Cabal up until the very day of the Ascension.
What are the 3 that died? Who were they?
I did not know them.
You didn't know them?
Do you know their names?
No. Because I learned of the last 2 after the defeat of Korrah. And they claimed their place as the new Pantheon.
How did they go about selecting who would ascend?
My knowledge of this is limited. I know Azuth had the idea, and he went to the Storm Emperor, and they brought in a select few. Aeron and Avandra. A few others, due to either their power or their reputation, became vital. But as for I knew Pelor, I have no idea what the justification for bringing him into the Cabal was. Did I ever say I was more than just an assistant? Kind of looking up in the direction of everybody.
Okay.
It's like, oh my god, these people. You do not seem to comprehend. That this was a very secret thing. There is a reason. It was called the Cabal.
That is exactly why I ask questions of it, because there seems to be little knowledge on the circumstances in which it happened. So,
As
even
was the
understanding
intent.
your part was perhaps not the biggest, you still did have a part.
And he kind of dips his head in acknowledgement. There are few alive from that time. Even fewer who yet speak. I understand that you've become something of counts in the Diplomat.
Yes, we have a keep.
Do you grant my agents free?
So long as they do not cause trouble with those who stay around the keep, then I see no issue with it. And she looks at the others.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
And Felix, at this point, just starts rubbing his temple. Yeah, sure. I guess.
Gwen's been like active in this conversation, but like once you asked like, "Hey, can you like I have access to your area?" She just kind of is like zoned out a little bit, and she looks like she wants to say something, but she's like hasn't quite formed the words for it yet.
You have seized land. What do you plan to do with it now that the reigning power is in dissolution? You plan to expand?
I cannot speak for the others, but I would say expansion is in my curiosities, but I do have greater goals to work towards first.
Such as?
I do not know if Ellen has told you or not, but I do seem to be lacking in some certain parts of my memory.
Oh,
Like, like holding back like laughter at this point. He's like, and then he like sees that like Shaphat's like about to speak. He like
Korrah
he's like struggling. He's like, oh, I should stop laughing.
Korrah gives Aeron a look like, what is so funny to you? It's not fun having no memory.
I'm sorry. It's just the way you phrased that. You said you were missing parts of your memory.
I mean, is that not true? I do remember some things. I do remember your name, do I not?
You remember more short-term things.
She just like sighs and she's like, anyway.
most unfortunate. And he kind of withdraws for a second. And there's just kind of just some twitching in in his finger bones. Fingers twitch a little bit. If you are interested, I could attempt something. Might it is pure guesswork on my part. There is no promise that it would succeed.
And
There would be no ill effect if it failed. But cast a spell on you to see if there's some entity, thing, presence withholding your memory.
And
To possibly dispel it.
if the spell does not work, would that have negative consequences?
No.
Do you require some sort of service for this offer?
Not right now. This is perhaps a rain check.
Do I want to be in rain check with Shaphat?
We've already been doing stuff for that as well.
Well, I suppose I am a bit desperate, aren't I? She just sort of like chuckles dryly. I am open to the possibility if you think it would have potential benefits.
And if nothing comes of it, then no debt will be owed.
Alright.
And rather quickly traces a glyph that Aeron actually would recognize as a restoration, and then it gets more complex, and he just keeps building on it. And then the entire interior of his skull glows a thin green. And excuse me. Korrah's skull is her head is outlined in the same color. Haloed almost. And Korrah, you see yourself fighting. In a very tight pitched battle in the middle of it. You're not quite sure what the fight is about. Just that you are in resplendent black plate with subtle but noticeable gold inlays. And your sword, unlike anything you've ever seen. But once you do see it, it feels intimately familiar. The blade doesn't actually connect to the hilt, and it is composed entirely of fire. There is no steel. There is no metal. It's just fire. And you are carving a swath through this battlefield. You are uncontested in your might. And you return to the present. And Shaphat is sitting there, fingers outstretched and meeting in the middle, his head kind of just behind his hands, looking at you.
I have two questions. Does Korrah feel like any, like, different upon, like, recollecting this? And can I, like, tell what Shaphat's thinking as per usual?
So the second one's the easiest one, so make an insight check.
No. That's all you need to know.
Okay. And as for the first, it felt like you were trying to reclaim something. And something meaningful. But you're just not, it's not quite giving itself up yet.
Is it obvious that she, like, saw something when he did that? Does she react?
She went blank for a couple minutes. Still visibly breathing. And kind of twitching every so often. But Korrah is not home up until her eyes open again. After that, out of my jurisdiction.
And Korrah sort of, like, she like blinks. She looks very, like, focused, like she really wants to analyze, like, what she just saw. I really was something, wasn't I?
And his hands are still kind of clasped, and his index fingers would meet just below his nose if there were a nose there. And what did you see, if you don't mind my asking?
She'll go ahead and recount what she saw. She has no reason to, like, hide it.
Interesting.
Something keeping her from remembering?
Difficult to pinpoint. Almost like a scar. Something deeply magical. Something very powerful.
Did you have the scar in the vision you saw, Korrah?
Did I have the scar? I mean, I can't see her. She couldn't see
Uh,
she was herself, right? Like, it wasn't third
Yeah,
person.
it was you.
Oh, okay.
It was, yeah, kind of. It was odd. It wasn't really third person, but there was. You knew it was you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain tightness in your face now that there wasn't. In that memory.
She recounts that to Aeron.
Whatever you have angered, or done perhaps, or has been done to you. That's Something to marvel at.
I don't suppose you have any suggestions as to how I can continue to remember things like this.
I have made a hole. I've peeled some of the scar tissue away. I hypothesize that some of it will begin to flake off with it. I cannot guarantee such. But perhaps recreation of the things you see, or for all I know, visiting places in which you have been in your past. Difficult, I know, since you do not remember it. May help jog the healing process.
She nods. Thank you for trying to help. I greatly appreciate it.
And he opens his palms towards you, and he's still seated. It just kind of inclines his body a bit. It's not really a bow, just a gracious inclination.
Mm-hmm.
After watching all of that happen, I feel like during Korrah spacing out and staring at blankly, she would have like grabbed the bag of seeds out of one of her like hip pouches, and she's just kind of holding them. Does it seem like Korra's gonna ask him anything else, or does it seem like she's
No, she seems like
she's done? She's just gonna like think about what
she's like, I got stuff to reflect on.
And she's gonna grab one of them out of the bag and put the rest of the bag away. And she's gonna look at Shaphat, and she'll stand up and walk over to him and put one in front of him.
And he kind of unclasps his hands, and his body language seems indecisive as to whether or not he wants to inspect or back away from it.
And she's just gonna stare at him. Can you tell me everything that you know about the Grove?
And touches the seed for a second. I will tell you what I know. The Grove was a creation of Korrah during the Sundering. It was designed to protect the aura of the forest. And it did so. For most of the war. But towards the end, the effects that the aberrations had became a bit more clear. Once it was purely a defensive barrier that would, if agents, armies, what have you, of the far realm made it to our forest. Grove would dispatch of them. In spectacular fashion.
What did it look like then?
But there was more green to it. It was still black. Seeds were more colorful then. And he puts it back down on the table. Maybe he already did that, I don't know. Toward the end of the war, this was after Korrah had been killed, Grove began to develop on its own and began to grow without guidance. And it was less picky in who died. Many of our allies, not born of the woods, also became its victims. I cannot speak to how it has changed in the last several thousand years. I have lived outside of the Syriac woods for a very long time. But I do know that once our kin traveled more than they do now. As he looks at Korrah as he says that.
Do you think there's any way that I could help it change back?
His shoulders kind of slump. Shortly after their ascension, the new gods attempted to purge the influence of the far realm from this world. It had some limited success, but not even they were able to revert the Alrisen back to their original states.
She looks sort of crestfallen at that. Doesn't necessarily mean it's not possible, right?
I am not one to rule anything out of the realm of possibility. I have seen and done much that reasonable people of many manifolds deem impossible. It is beyond my imagination what it would take, but that does not mean that it is impossible.
She's gonna pick the seed back up and put it in her pocket.
Exactly how is it that people come across the grove? And she looks at both Shaphat and Guin.
Gwyn's just get to stare at Shaphat and see what he says.
It is not a thing I am intimately familiar with. I have come across some journals of self-ascribed disciples of the Grove. And they come across it in times of utter desperation.
Gwyn's gonna go sit back down in her chair. Not gonna keep standing. I was not too far from Pilo when I found it. However, I don't quite understand how or why it was where it was, or how I got there, because from the sounds of it, it shouldn't have been anywhere near my town. But when I woke up, it was no longer there. So was it actually there? I don't know. But
Do you know how long you were gone?
it was night when I found it, and it was night when I woke up. But I have the scars, so it must have happened. Whether or not it was actually there, or if it was completely in my head, I don't know.
Was it a moment of desperation for you? The way that it was for others?
Well, I can't speak for others, but it wasn't in a good place for me. It found me when I needed something, so I guess.
It is how many of the Arrisen now function, preying upon the loss, granting them new purpose.
Does Gwen look like she has more to say on the topic?
No.
Okay. Korrah?
Aeron can ask his questions now. If that's what you want.
I don't want to interrupt, just making sure. Aeron will kind of like adjust forward in his seat, seeing that that conversation has ended. Looks back over at Shaphat, and he says, "Since you've offered my companions some of your aid, I was wondering if I could ask you for some assistance."
Korrah?
Haven't you asked enough? Ashley?
He pulls down his mask, and touches the burn, and he asks Shaphat, could you help me get rid of this mark?
I believe it is within my power. Shaphat leaves for a second, goes up the stairs, comes back down about 2 minutes later with water with a kind of ethereal glow and a wheel. And he says, "Come with me." And all of a sudden, you guys are upstairs.
But the food.
And you're also not sitting anymore, you are standing. Says, "Lay on that table."
What kind of room are we in?
Snaps love. It's time for
Uh,
your
Right, babe, it's time for your dick flattening.
Oh god, Shaphat completely destroys my appearance. He gives me botched plastic surgery.
You want to look like a Kardashian, right? And procures a small knife and nicks your scar a few times, enough to draw blood in just like very slim cuts. Like could be almost confused for paper cuts. Just they're in a really weird place for paper cuts.
Do they hurt?
They sting.
Okay.
And takes the wheel and it begins to spin on its own. And the glass of water levitates towards the wheel and begins to pour so that the water falls through the spokes. And Shaphat is muttering very quietly as this is happening, and these little bits of water infused with a type of magic that you're fairly familiar with yourself. And the wounds close, and the scar tissue begins to flake away slightly, a little bit more. And after about 5 minutes of this process, he stops and a mirror levitates towards you. And it's not perfect, but it is much closer to your original appearance, and there's not nearly so much tension around your jaw. Make sure you are not injured in the next few days, and it shall, over the course 2 or 3 days, should complete the healing.
Aeron stares at his reflection and he nods and thank you.
Staring at it like, damn, that's a nice looking man.
Yeah, he's checking himself out, you know?
I'm just gonna roll our eyes.
Oh no, you guys aren't here for this.
Oh, I thought he took everybody upstairs.
No, he just took Aeron upstairs.
Okay. Well, she
Yeah.
feels Aeron being arrogant somewhere in the tower.
It's like, I'm gonna cut him just for that. And Felix is just, oh my god.
While we're here, Could I talk to you about something in private?
Might as well.
Can we go to the Whisper Channel?
Oh! Sorry. I didn't catch the hint.
Private.
Now we're stuck here with Bard Boy and
Just
Shaphat.
Oh god! Even when he's there, he's here.
Welcome, we're back.
Yeah, just like they
Bag.
kind of disappeared, and like 10 minutes later, they reappeared.
Aeron has a bag. Shaphat showed him his first collection. What color is the bag that I got?
Is it a bag of
Honestly, it's pretty
food?
plain.
Is it a bag of holding?
Yeah.
No.
Ask him for one, dude. I'm sure he's got a few laying around. Wait, like actually though.
But no, this one is just a brown leather with black and white trim. However, it seems to glow on the inside.
Does Aeron like say anything?
Where do we reappear?
My new bag, guys. Sorry, what?
where do we reappear?
Did you guys go to the mall without us? My sugar daddy Lich took me Christmas shopping without you guys.
Wait, last session I was making jokes about Aeron being the errand boy, and now he has a bag. But yeah, where are we? Are we like in the table or in the table? At the table?
Near the table.
Okay. Aaron's just gonna like walk back over to his seat, and I don't know who he was sitting next to.
Does he
Probably
still have a mask on?
Oh,
Has he been wearing a mask?
He has been wearing it, yeah.
Is he wearing it now?
No.
It's not perfect, but it looks a lot better.
It sounded like it kind of looks like it's like almost more like what like a stitched scar would look like.
Yeah. Just for S&Gs, go ahead and make a perception check.
Okay. It's a 10.
Yeah, it just looks better.
Okay.
I see everything went well.
Oh, yeah, and Shaphat, for the moment, is holding the Codex. The book that looks like the Monster Book of Monsters. And he's not opening it. Oh yeah, he cast identify. So yeah, his eyes or the sockets are faintly glowing that pale green. And after a few seconds, fades. And it levitates out of his hands back to Aeron.
Just for like shits and giggles, Aaron's gonna put it in a new bag.
As you go for it, he's like, I wouldn't.
Okay, and he'll like stop when he's like, won't it just go to yours?
Yes. But the point is for you to keep that.
I wanted to test it.
What exactly is it that you're testing?
It is a diplomat pouch. Can send documents to any other bearer of a diplomat.
I take it that other bearer of the other pouch is you?
Oh, there are more than just me, but I am one. It's for some time before he was so unceremoniously disintegrated, the Emperor had one, and most of his advisors had one.
Does it send the item that you put in to everyone that has the pouch, or just whoever you are meaning to send it to?
It has to be correctly addressed.
It's a magic mailbox.
Actually, though.
And what if it's not addressed?
And it just rather stays put for the most part. If you're particularly unlucky, then it just kind of gets torn apart and sent to various vectors.
Aeron will put the book back in his bag.
Is it something that only Aeron can use?
Let me check. I don't think it requires attunement, but it might.
Do we actually have to attach like a mailing slip, or can he just be like, I want to send it to Shaphat?
Want to send this to the king. Send him a drawing of a dick.
A letter placed in this pouch addressed to someone who owns another diplomat's pouch. It can be sent to multiple people, but it has to be specifically addressed to one or more people.
Does it send like copies?
You mean like,
you, like
can
put
you
in
keep the
a
original?
book? If you put in a
If
book, and then you're like, I want to send it to Shaphat and my friend back in the woods, does it like make 2 copies and it sends one to each?
yeah,
So it's
but the one that you put in there is gone though.
But you ultimately have copies.
It's
Copies.
not really good for books. I mean, if it's like a long letter that's multiple pages, and it kind of works. But if it's like a legit novel that's 250 pages, it doesn't really go for that. It's more for concise. Yeah, it's not a big purse. It's not big.
Your sugar daddy bought you a purse?
I'm a real errand boy now.
now you gotta dress like the mailman from Twilight Princess.
So what is it?
Codex and Cabulum. I assumed you knew.
I don't really know what it does. I just know that it wants me to read it.
Sort of a summoner's guide for devils. And
What kind of devils?
really any type 3 devil. And after a second, his head kind of clicks to the side. If you would excuse me, I think I must retire for the evening. And he just disappears.
Oh my god, I wasn't done!
I wish I could do that. Be like, you know what, guys? I'm kind of tired. Peace out.
Is it like late now?
I mean, it's been a couple hours, yeah.
Yeah.
He's been doing like a bunch of
But
shit.
like, is it even evening?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
That's probably 5:36. I'm
Are
sure
we just
night.
like standing in the dining room?
Oh yeah, at this point the table is still there, but all the food is gone now.
He looks just like in the middle of eating a drumstick and like this.
It's like, ah!
To look around and be like, we're staying here? Where are we sleeping?
Probably just the same place we did last time. He looks at Ander when he says that.
Yes.
She's just staring at Aeron like, okay, well, show us where it is.
I mean, or
Oh my god, fine. And he goes and starts walking down the stairs.
That is a very Ander response.
are we ready to sleep?
Bro, we
So
just like
Felix
party-
has like 2 or 3 levels of exhaustion.
Yeah, true.
Aeron has 2 or 3 levels of exhaustion.
Guin got smacked around. She went down to 1 HP. And she like healed a little bit. She's like, I could lay down.
As we're walking to, is it downstairs? Is that where it was?
Yeah. It was downstairs, I believe, 2 levels.
Okay. As we're walking downstairs, Aeron's gonna kind of like look at Gwen, and he kind of he places his hand like lightly like on her shoulder, and he's gonna ask, I noticed that you were a little hesitant being around Shaphat at first, but are you all right now?
I mean, he gave me information that I didn't have before. I feel like it's fair that we don't trust him. I have no real, like, knowledge of who he is other than what us. He doesn't exactly exude trustworthiness.
You're right about that. I hoped that if not trust, then some more of a positive outlook might have come from you discussing the grove with him.
I mean, he gave me something to think about, for sure. She just looks really tired.
Aeron will leave it at that.
Please do, my hand's tired.
Ander Here are the rooms. And then just walks into a door.
Walks into a door.
Walks through a door. Perhaps might be
Through the door? How did he do that?
Through the doorway. There we go. What does the area look like?
Gray. Bed frames are nothing real fancy. Just yeah, just iron frame. The beds seem comfortable.
Is it multiple beds in a room?
No.
They're individual rooms?
Mm-hmm. And the beds are really only fit for one person. They're a little bit bigger than a twin, but definitely smaller than a full. And are feather down. Yeah, aside from that, they are pretty much unadorned.
Did Ander just like go into one of the rooms and like close the door?
Yeah. And Felix like, yeah, good night. Might call Aeron a bitch or something on the way. You never know.
Night, bitch.
He says it with warmth.
Not sure that's an accurate assessment.
Horrible. Go into one of the rooms.
She's gonna look at Aeron, and she's gonna like look at the room that Korrah went into, and she's gonna go into her own separate room.
Alright, I guess I get the first room.
Do you want the gray room or the gray room?
I want the gray
Yeah.
room.
I wanted that one.
Oh man, I wanted the gray room.
The gray room or the gray room?
Yeah, and due to the foreboding atmosphere, I'm gonna say that you still have to do hit dice in this place. I don't think any of you truly feel safe.
Yo, I'm vibing. I don't know what you mean.
Had to use my potion earlier.
Wow, I rolled a 1.
D8. I'm down a few at the moment as well.
You guys could have asked. You guys, you know, you can ask me to use the rest of my sleep, by the way.
You already went into your room.
I'm just saying that for future reference, try and remember that, like, I still have some healing before you guys sleep.
It's fine, I only needed like 7 points.
Oh, I rolled an 8 on my D8.
Oh, nice.
You get a D8?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure,
That was memeing.
oh.
Sick.
Oh. Okay.
You get a D12? You get a D8? You guys are getting hit dice? Do we have any dreams?
I don't think so. I mean, it's up to you guys. You might have some nightmares. You don't. Nobody has any prophetic. Or actually, Aeron, if you could make an Arcana check for me, subtract 2. Not that it really matters that much, since you got like a fucking plus 13.
I only have 3d8 left. Can we go?
I didn't roll that high, so. 21.
I didn't roll it.
I didn't.
That's plus 11. Or just roll a 10 for 21. Try not to burn myself real quick.
Why are you burning yourself?
I'm trying not to. I'm lighting a candle. Okay. Something is going on. You do remember when that one time you brought Falkland here and he utterly embarrassed you. But do you remember that he noticed 2 planar portals at the top and bottom of the tower? And yeah, it's just something's happening.
Aeron, is this like right after we went to bed, or is this like during the night?
This is more in the night.
So it like wakes him up?
For all I know. Sort of, yeah. It's preventing you from having the best night of sleep. And then eventually... It's nothing that's preventing you from getting a full night's rest, mechanically.
Okay.
Just,
When he like, I guess, wakes up and kind of like senses that something is going on, he's going to knock on Korrah's door.
Korrah is, she'll already have been awake at this point, so, because, only 4 hours needed, so.
Wait, is this in the middle of everyone sleeping?
more so, yeah.
How long after us going to our rooms is it?
Apparently at least 4 hours. So it'd probably be about 11 in the night.
Okay, yeah, so Korrah will already be awake, so she'll open up the door. She opens it, like, cautiously, because, like, they're in a weird place. Like, she cracks it open, and then she sees Aeron, and then she, like, finishes opening it up.
3 ghouls in a trench coat.
What is she wearing? Is she like...
Would have taken her armor off to meditate. I have to.
Hey, Korrah, you in your night robe?
I will take the dress back in her armor because,
Okay.
again, it's not she doesn't exactly feel safe, so.
Yeah. That's why I asked it. I realized, like, after I said it, that's not what I was seeing, but I was trying to ask if she seemed like she was trying to be protected with her armor.
Or, like, the hair conversation started.
Anyway.
That's just gonna be a thing now. What are you wearing? Khakis.
Jake from State Farm.
That's actually Korrah's backstory.
sorry for, and then he like kind of like pauses and he sees like the state like of the room light. You know, he probably knows that it's past her trance time. Actually, never mind. I think something's going on.
Something magical?
Yeah, come with me.
I mean, she'll grab her sword and step out of her room.
He sees that like she grabbed her sword and he's like, oh, I guess maybe I should bring this. He'll grab his staff as well, but he's not wearing like his armor or anything. Like he's in his nightwear.
Wait, you use a staff?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, not just me, Ashley.
What? Oh my god! I said it at the beginning. His arcane focus
Literally
is a
everybody
staff.
is like, wait, you use a staff?
You have
sorry.
never, like, mentioned it since, like, the first time we joined then, if that's the case, because I don't remember. For some reason, I thought he just had, like, I don't know, like a necklace or a charm or something.
No, he uses a staff. Anyways.
She'll follow Aeron's leaves. Like
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna go to the downstairs planar portal.
All right. And so you go downstairs, and curiously enough, there's not a locked door, more of just a open threshold. And the portal seems active.
Is there any signs of anything having come this way through the portal? Like, is there?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, and at this point, can't. I mean, I guess you could make a check if you wanted to, but just looking at it, hard to identify where it might even be leading to.
Does the room seem like it's in any like disarray at all?
Not really, but you're versed enough to know that it would take a pretty serious amount of power to keep it active for longer than 6 seconds, and it would be pretty draining just to keep it open for those 6 seconds.
Mm-hmm. So, like, I definitely get the idea that something went out rather than in. Or
It's just, yeah. Yeah.
okay. Aeron will look at Korrah and he says, I think someone went through this. Someone left.
Do you think it was Shaphat?
There's no way. Well, he kind of pauses for a moment. No. He he's safest here, and I don't think he trusts us enough to leave us here.
Then one of his apprentices, perhaps?
Maybe. If I kind of like put my hand like up to the portal, do I get like any sense of where it might be going?
Make an Arcana check.
Oh no!
Nat 1.
16!
Is that including
Not a
your-
nat one.
So that's a nat 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Contrary to your expectation, it's not actually leading anywhere foreign on the scale that you would expect one of Shaphat's portals to be. Put your hand up to it and through a little bit, and it is definitively still of a prime material plane on the other side.
Would I have like any sense of like maybe the like climate of the area? I don't really know how much you could.
Make a nature check.
18.
18. It is cool. It is dark. It is green. Rolling hills.
He'll take his hand back out. It's somewhere on the prime material plane. Somewhere green. I'm not really sure if we should be worried.
What was the area that Talker was in called?
Was it green?
It was a bit more prairie.
Yeah, I was imagining like more like
Yeah.
yellow. I mean, would we know of anywhere on the world map that would have that climate at this point in the season?
Double check. One of the places you guys know. Aeron might know of them, but he's never been there though.
Do you want me to roll?
Sure, that'd be history, I guess. I don't really. No, nature.
Nature?
Yeah.
That's another 18.
There are 3 big likelihoods to your mind. Be the Dinaric lowlands, the Yuan wetlands, what's the word? Or the lowlands of the Altais?
You said I've never been there. Do I remember if anyone in the party has ever said anything about being at any of these places?
God, Felix probably has.
Mhm.
'Cause, yeah, he's been all over that southern coastal region. Not southern coastal. The coast around the Minoan Sea. But aside from that, not really.
Is this something we should be informing Shaphat of? Or would he know?
I think he would know. I mean, if I felt it, then he
as
most
you're
certainly
having
would have.
this discussion, the gate begins to kind of swirl and be tinged with red and black. And for a while, the red overtakes the black, and then the black overtakes the red and settles. And the two of you are looking into almost looks like a parody of Istaru. Just gray, black. And with a starless black sky.
Is it the destroyed Easteril?
No, it still had its central spires standing, but Istaril's architecture was incorporated a lot of glass and a lot of strange curvature and unnatural walkways, all fortified by magic. This was just kind of Nazgul towers, and then the portal shimmers and fades.
Seems we've missed
Hello?
any opportunity. Sorry, yeah. I was thinking what to say.
Okay.
Yeah. Seems we've missed any opportunity to find out what was going on here. But we might be able to ask Shaphat in the morning.
I don't suppose that traveling through time is a possibility with Shaphat's powers.
Maybe it was because of Villain Fenton myth awakening. I don't know about you, but I was jolted to another time at first.
As was I.
Do you think we should wait, or should we go tell Shaphat now?
Would Shaphat want us to disturb him right now?
I think that if it was a reasonable cause for concern, he would. But I know that the Minaret is powerful, so
You know this place and Shaphat more well than I do. So if you deem it worthy that we go to him now, then... And if not, then we return to...
Are you're done resting, right?
I am.
Would you mind maybe staying here, guarding, seeing if something else happens, and then if it does, perhaps we tell Shaphat. But if not, we just wait for the morning.
She nods. She's fine with that.
Okay. Aeron will go back to sleep then. Maybe.
Morning comes. Nothing of note transpires. Portal seems to stay dead. Korrah does see a couple cranium rats scuttle to and fro.
Ooh.
And I assume you probably wander back to the dormitory
Yeah.
come morning. Let's make a, for lack of a better check, survival check.
You're gonna get lost.
8.
Oh no.
The power has changed. Followed your steps exactly the way they transpired. But you're not where you're supposed to be.
She like sighs. She's like, fucking ratchet.
Stairs going up, stairs going down. Have 2 corridors, one left, one right.
I'll go upstairs.
Go up the stairs. And the stairs just kind of go on for a while. And like you're pretty sturdy. Goes on for such a long time that you're actually getting kind of tired. And it finally opens up to something that looks like a laboratory.
Is there anyone around here?
No, but some of the mechanisms that reside there are functioning on their own. And some of them are being operated by strange pseudo-alive apparatuses themselves.
What's that? Do I recognize what the apparatuses are?
One of them actually just kind of looks like a teacup with butterfly wings, basically sutured on, and some mechanical arms and legs attached, or not legs, just arms, actually. And another one is a kind of little clay goblin looking thing. with kind of stump legs.
She's not gonna like touch the apparatuses or anything, but she'll like walk through the laboratory, take a look around, because like, admittedly, she is curious about like what's in the Minaret, obviously.
Make an investigation check.
18.
18. Oof. Most of what is happening here is creating of compounds. Excuse me. He's making some mesium. He's making some adamantine. And some metals that you were.
For some armor.
Oh Jesus, that would be insane. I would like adamantine plate armor, please. And does it come in black? Yeah, and some materials that you were just unfamiliar with.
Are there any doors in the laboratory, or is it just like the only area up here?
There are also doors here.
I'm gonna go through one of the doors if they're unlocked.
Okay. One is locked, the other is unlocked, and goes down a straight hallway that also goes on for a long time.
She's like, God, everything down here just takes forever to get to.
And at the end of it is a small cube room, black walls, a marble table, white marble table with a small lamp, and the floor is black and white tile, square.
This is where Shaphat goes to torture Aeron in his dreams.
It's his office.
Yeah. Is there anything like... She doesn't really want to touch anything. She doesn't want to like mess with his stuff, obviously, but I mean, is there anything like noteworthy that like she can like find just by like observing the room?
There's a certain smell.
You found the stinky room.
It's somewhat similar to one of the chambers in Kharkiv. Albeit this one is much better, is kept much cleaner. But it still smells largely of oh crap. Blood and sulfur.
Would I know like what those components might be like used to like what people do with them? Just like maybe like through like I don't know, observing like some of the other mages in the park stuff.
Yeah, is probably a summoning room. And something that you are familiar with is summoning demons requires blood. But to summon things that would leave a stench this long lasting, even after being apparently cleaned as this room has been, is something a bit more powerful than might be casually summoned to aid an ailing magician.
And I assume this room, does it lead anywhere? Like, is there a room just on its own?
No, there's this is a box with one entrance, one exit.
Okay. Well, she'll head back out and go back down the long hall.
Down the long hall and down the long stairs. And at this point, Aeron, Felix, and Guin are well awake and wondering where the hell Korrah and Ander are.
Aaron's like laying in his bed, and he's like, he can tell that like Gwen and Felix are like awake and like moving or whatever, but he's like, I don't want to get up.
And Korrah, if I could have you make one more survival check.
14.
14.
I'll note though that Korrah isn't really. By the time she like gets back down the stairs, I'll note that she's not really trying to find the dormitory anymore. She's kind of curious.
Just like looking
So
around.
she's like, I'm gonna go down this hallway.
Yeah, with 14, you're able to at least get your way back to the main entranceway, where Shaphat conjured his feast. You have no idea how you got here. Yeah, you entered through a door that you hadn't even seen before.
Is this room? There's no one in this room.
Not right now, no.
Does it look like anyone's like been through this room recently?
Probably not for the last few hours.
Is the table still there?
No, actually.
Have Felix or, well, Aaron's still laying in bed, but has Felix like left his room or anything? Or
No, probably. I'm
I feel
guessing
like
he got antsy and
if we've been awake for a while, Gwen would like leave her room and go knock on the other guys' doors and be like,
Whose door does she knock on?
I think Aeron was right next to her, so she'll knock on that one.
So, like, he hears the knock and he like rolls over. He's just like, still in bed. He's like, hello.
Why are you still in bed? It's like 10 a.m. Get up.
And you can kind of hear him like rustle around a bit, and
She'll go over to Felix's door and knock on his door. Well, actually, no. She'd probably go and knock on Korrah next, and she'll wait. There's no answer. She'll knock again and be like, "Hey, are you awake?" The heck? And so then she's gonna go knock on Ander and Felix's, and Ander doesn't respond to me either, and she's like, where is half my group?
When she's knocking on Ander's door, like right after she knocked on Korrah's and like didn't get a response, Aeron will like open his door and he's like, you can tell that he like combed his hair, but he's like only wearing like his pants and his robe, but it's closed. But you can tell like he's like he doesn't want to get dressed. And then he's like seeing that she's like knocking on everyone's doors, and he kind of like rubs his eyes, so he's like a little sleepy still, and he says, Korrah's was keeping watch.
Keeping watch on what?
Yeah, we don't really know.
And Gwen just kind of stares at him like, what do you mean you don't know? Well, where is she?
She might still be down there, I guess.
And Gwen's just like confused. She's like, this place is creepy and she's keeping watch somewhere in it? like, I'm okay.
Ashley says the chaos lives on forever.
She's like, downstairs where?
Oh, come on, I'll show you.
Oh no.
She kind of looks at him and she's like, are you gonna put a shirt on?
His robe is like closed, so. But he's
okay.
So he's not like walking around naked. And he's wearing his pants, so.
Is he wearing shoes?
I bet he's command.
Oh no!
Is he wearing shoes? He probably has like a pair of like sandals on. Like slip-ons. He doesn't have his boots on. Because in case you, apparently since you didn't know he had a staff, maybe you didn't know he wears boots too.
I remember he complained about his boots getting messy.
Every opportunity.
And he'll, can you tell that the house has shifted?
Yes.
How, like, apparent is that? Is it, like, right when we start to go, or do we, like, make our way a little bit?
No, yeah, you make your way a bit, and going, oh, you know, it was kind of late. Yeah, I might have missed something. And you go down a bit further, and you're still not where you were. No. It just wasn't like this before.
As we're, like, making our way down, like, Gwen can probably see that Aaron's, like, getting a little confused, and then eventually he like, stops and he goes, the house changed again?
Does it do that often?
This is only the second time I've seen it.
Are we lost?
Don't get lost.
Is he acting weird when he says that?
he seems like a little offended.
She's just like kind of squinting at him, like, why are you being weird? Like, where is Korrah? You don't even know how to navigate this place.
Let's just go back to the main room where we ate, and everyone will probably eventually reconvene there.
Kind of like giving you a look, and she's like, okay. She looks at him expectantly, like, you lead. I don't know.
Okay.
Make a survival check.
I don't get lost. What does it mean?
And add
17
1 to the result. Okay.
18.
Is that with the +1?
18 with the
So,
+1.
yeah, you're able to finagle your way through this house that seems so determined to obfuscate and confuse. And eventually make your way up to that finisher level. Felix is there. Like, he didn't even bother going down with you guys. He just went back upstairs. I assume Korrah probably isn't engaging him because, yeah. But Korrah was there first. Felix is there second. Then you two finally get there.
So we like get there and we see Korrah and Felix, and Aeron like looks at Gwen. He's like, "See,
He's like, I got
everything's fine.
it.
We weren't lost."
She's just kind of like, yeah, okay, sure. Gonna walk up to the other two and be like, she's gonna look at Korrah since Korrah like wasn't in a room. She's gonna be like, have you seen Ander?
No.
Well, where
He's
is
not lost either.
And Shaphat appears naturally in a spot that kind of escapes all but Korra's peripheral vision, and slowly strides forward, and he has a blue crystal in his hands, or rather between two fingers.
Is it one of Bill's scales?
It seems like, yeah. Your friend requested that I impart this upon you. And floats it over so that someone can grab it.
Korrah will grab it. And where has our friend gone?
Your request to leave. Plainly put. I got him to the nearest to his home that I could. Which admittedly was not close.
Oh, so that was you that activated the portal?
Yes.
Andrew left.
Yes.
And is still quite young. Everything that has been happening, I can imagine, would be difficult for someone his age.
I would imagine. He is a boy of few words.
Unless you make him angry. Did he say if he was coming back?
No. But his tone implied he was not. What is this crystal?
It's Villain Trenton Myth's scale.
I am entirely unfamiliar with this. Whatever power is contained within this.
Gwen's gonna like go over to Korrah and like motion for her to give it to her. Got it.
I guess we'll hand it to her. Is she looking at it?
Yeah, she's just kind of like, is it like bright in the castle, or is it like kind of dim lit? Are there torches or anything?
It's not torches. It's just kind of witch light.
Well, she's gonna hold it up so
Yeah.
she can like kind of see through it. There's like electricity
And
inside them, right?
yeah, it's a little bit of. There's occasional spark that just flows through it, but there's also just a kind of ever-present soft glow in the center that kind of fluctuates just a little bit off center, depending on how it's moved.
It's truly beautiful.
Does Korrah look
suppose.
upset if Gwyn doesn't offer it back? She's just like holding on to it.
She looks like she expects her to hand it back over.
She doesn't.
She'll hold out her hand.
She's just gonna stare at you and be like, I want to hold on to it.
Why?
I want it.
Oh my god.
Why does
He
it
only
matter?
gave you one.
I don't think it particularly matters, but as the
And
leader
this
of
is the
group,
apple
I
side.
would hold on to it.
She just kind of stares at you.
That was the bigger one, right? Or no?
No,
The
the
bigger
other
one
one
was
was the size of a bowl.
She doesn't look very happy.
Where's the other one?
Yep.
He kept it?
Are you surprised?
That little shit.
This was the smaller one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As I can see, this is a conflict I have no part in. Would you mind if I teleported you somewhere before you got my house bloody?
Well, we'll sort it out later. There was more that I wanted to ask you.
Quickly, please.
Are you in a rush?
There are things I would like to do. Yes.
Well, I wanted to ask you a bit about the ruins of Kharkiv.
Oh yeah, and just to keep throwing that reminder at you, have a shit ton of stuff from there.
I know,
Paper.
yeah.
All right.
I was curious if you knew anything about the origins of the ruins.
Yes, they were. Obviously, they had some repute and material at their disposal. But they were attempting to supplant the new god to become the third pantheon.
Oh. There were signs there that there was some massive summoning.
I was asking extraplanar entities how best to gain power. A fairly common trait among those seeking power.
Korrah has the flask, right?
Yeah.
after we reached the scroll, and then as we were leaving, there was a 3-headed skeleton figure coming after us, and we managed to capture it.
Oh. That was impressive. How did you bind a skull lord?
With an iron flask.
No, of course. That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Do you know what the Skull Lord does?
They are the petty kings of the Shadowfell. Once, yeah, they weren't always 3-headed. At some time in the past, in some other, possibly this plane, possibly a different plane of existence, they were 3 separate individuals. For whatever crimes they committed against, obviously some mage of significant power, they were bound together and cast in their death to a realm in which death does not particularly hold sway.
Would it have been controlled by someone, or does it act of its own free will?
Most anything can be bound. Even a mortal, if summoned, given the proper techniques, could be bound to do a certain bidding, just not on the prime material plane. Have to be on some other manifold.
Does Shaphat have the scroll on him?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and something you've noticed, since last night, you can't feel roll anymore.
Oh.
And Felix also seems a bit less pained. Or not a bit less, significantly less.
What are your plans for the scroll?
I plan to unleash Armageddon upon the remaining elements.
You mentioned that we should lure it to Riga or Villain Trenton with Russ.
That is a potentiality, yes. They would have to be lured at a rather last minute. This spell is so powerful. It will annihilate almost anything for a square mile. Takes much longer than any useful combat, than any spell useful for combat. And its power is such that everything within that field of destruction recognizes its impending doom. It would have to be lured in at the end of the hour it takes to cast.
So those who lure it in will need to have a means of getting out before the spell goes off. Unless they wish to die, obviously.
What other sorts of things has these types of scrolls been used for?
I am only aware of it being used twice. Once was used to destroy a celestial nun, rather pejoratively as authority. The other was that, and he kind of slips back into that empty, pulls back. The other was used in one of the Venethred Empire's sillier wars of expansion, destroying the capital city of one of their enemies.
If the Scroll of Armageddon wasn't used in the Sundering, how were the Elder Elementals defeated the first time?
By the old ones. In the Sundering, the Elder Elementals were tamed by the Dawn Titans. Be aware, Lurik. You are close to being in my debt once again.
Well, I'm done asking questions. Oh, actually, do you have a new apprentice? Just to make sure that we don't accidentally murder this one.
Oh my god.
No. The next one, whenever that comes about, would be sent south.
I guess we should just avoid south then.
Haven't gone there yet.
So dark right now.
Now, where
It's
would
so
you
dark
have me
right
send
now.
you?
What are you?
Back to Riga, if possible.
As you say, is true. It's unlikely that I will be able to.
Like, I suppose it depends on our next course of action.
Yeah, we don't even know what we're doing it.
We know that Riga is where Villain Trenton myth is. And I think that it might be worth checking on his safety, seeing if he's alright, seeing if any of the mages that used to work there are watching over him, come up with a plan for luring the elementals?
Luring the elementals is our job.
Who else is gonna do it?
I guess she's sort of asking Shaphat that. So, like, I mean, she's sort of asking, like, does he have a plan, or is he wanting them to?
I will be in touch.
She not. Alright, then I suppose. Villain Trenton with it is.
So if I cannot get you to Riga, you are to be sent to Kiel.
Oh boy! Yeah, I need to go to the bank.
Alright. And he makes the motion like he's going to snap, but before he actually does, you guys are in the teleportation room. And he traces, or with a small knife, draws in the coordinates on the ground. And activates it. And nothing happens.
Damn.
Wipes his hand, and the coordinates are gone. Starts over. This is like a 10-minute process each time. Goes about doing it again for Kiel. Safe travels. And you are now in a warehouse in Kiel. And that is where we're ending tonight.